Hi, everybody. Will here with this week's interview chair. We have my very good friend, Robert RC Carusi. All right, guys, sit back and listen to ours for a while. Hey, everybody. Will here. And today on the interview chair is my very good friend, Robert RC Carusi. I just call him Ars, though. How's it going, Ars?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you this morning.
What was happening there? You said you had a rainfall or something?
Yeah, I'm a little late because we have the kind of tail ends of this hurricane that's coming up the coast.
Nice.
So there's a lot of water, and even though I had a shower early this morning, I got another shower, so I dry off before we did this.
I get it. Okay, everything's cool. You survived the pandemic fine, and business is good. I see you're still winning up a storm. Everything's cool. So,
yeah, business is good. I mean, it's a strange thing, right? Like I described last year as like depressed COVID, and this year as manic COVID.
Yeah.
So it's just starting to kind of level out here, where we were so crazy. We had more dogs to show than we ever did once it opened up.
People missed it. That's why.
Yeah, everybody wanted to get out and do something, and I'm really fortunate. I live in Massachusetts, and we have over 70% of the population vaccinated. We're number one in the country for vaccination.
Oh, good.
So I'm pretty happy about that because everything's going to remain open here. Our governor just said that the other day. So that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's good news. All right, let's get right into it. People want to find out about RC. How did you get involved in the sport of dogs? And tell me how old you were when you first started to Ars.
Yeah, so I was 15, and I was a kid. I was born in Queens and raised on Long Island. And this guy named Robert Fisher is my uncle. And he
this
came
guy
out to
named
Long
Robert Fisher.
Robert Fisher, yeah. So he came out to Long Island to visit his sister during, I think it was Bronx County Kennel Club held at the Nassau Coliseum.
Oh, nice.
Queensboro and Bronx County held at the Nassau Coliseum.
Do they still hold it there?
They don't hold it there any longer. They still have the shows, but
okay.
It hasn't been at the Coliseum in a long time.
That's a great place. So
it used to be, it was where the Islanders played at the time or something. But the dog show was in like the bowels of the place, Yeah. But nevertheless, it was pretty cool to go there.
Yeah, for sure.
So Bobby Fisher came to visit his sister and to go to those dog shows. And, I pulled up in front of our house in suburbia and put some exercise pens out. And I was happy to see the dogs and everything like that and interested in it all. And sometime that evening, he asked me if I wanted to go to the dog show in the morning. So I went to the dog show, and I think it was 3 days. Anyway, I got up every morning and went to every show. And the thing I like to tell everybody about that is Bobby Fisher was showing a young dog called Rowdy Red, probably the most famous dog that Bobby ever showed. And Rowdy, I think, was about 18 months old. And one of the first dog shows I went to, Rowdy Red won his first Best in Show. But he won the terrier group under this guy named Ken McDermott. And the Irish Terrier dog went Best in Show under Tom Gately for his first Best in Show.
Tom Gately.
Right? Pretty amazing because Tom Gately's from Brooklyn and an Irish Terrier breeder. So that was it for me, man. I was hooked.
I bet.
Yeah.
So where to go from there? How did you decide that you wanted to, how did you make things happen?
So sometime later that year, my parents were in a car accident. And my mom had a head injury and was in hospital for quite a while and in rehabilitation for a period of time. So that summer, I went down to Maryland. Bobby Fisher was living in Maryland at a place called My Manor, which was Gene Simmons' old place. And so I went to go for 2 weeks and spent the summer. So from there forward, every holiday we had from school, I went. that was it for me. I like to tell people that I didn't choose to be in dogs; it chose me.
Yeah, that sounds like it did. So how long were you with Bob then? How long did you work for Bob?
Gosh, I worked for Bob, I think, in total 10 years.
Wow, that's amazing for most. They don't hear of that anymore. Assistants, that's great.
Not anymore. In the meanwhile, there were some tumultuous times in Bob's life, and he sent me out to Robert Milano, and I worked for Robert, who is still today one of my greatest friends, and I love Robert. And then Robert chose not to do this any longer. I was out there for a year for him. So then I went over to Woods. I spent a year with Woody, and I came back, and Bobby was about to retire. So I finished up with him until he quit, and I bought the place I live in right now was his kennel.
So how old were you then? Was that like 10 years later that you spanned that whole 10 years into that 3-minute spiel?
I don't know. It was 1992.
Okay.
So I think it was like probably 12 years as an assistant.
Wow. Jeez. It's a long time. So you, I guess at that point, Bob was your main mentor, of course.
Yeah. Bob, he's a funny guy to work for. How do I say this, right? Like, he's so full of knowledge. And first and foremost, like animal husbandry was like the most important thing. Like you wake up in the morning, you put the dogs out, clean the crates, feed them, clean runs, clean water. The thing I took away from Bobby the most was, I have this ability to kind of just walk in the kennel, walk through the place. You see a dog's eyes, you know if they're well or if they're not well. That was something that was really pounded into you, taking care of the animals from Bobby.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another thing that I think is lacking now as well, animal husbandry.
Absolutely. But, I have these ladies that work for me, and they're great, Catherine and Emily, and I've had a bunch of different people, and I guess we can get into that, but Catherine's been with me since she's 17. She's 30.
Wow.
And she kind of, we work together, and she kind of runs like a sub business. And Emily shows a couple dogs for herself and works here. And then when we're so busy, I have another lady here, and she has the most unglorifying job, Maria Sackow, and she comes in Monday through Friday, and she watches the place when we're gone and pays the bills, and stuff like that. But without her, it'd be impossible to do any of this.
It's amazing.
So I'm really fortunate.
Things are ran.
I don't even know how long Maria's been with me. She's been with me a dozen years too. So I'm really fortunate that way.
It's amazing how important the people around you are for your business to succeed. It's
with this. I mean, and it's such a strange thing, right? Because it's not like any other business in the world, because you share meals with everyone and travel in cars with them and trucks in them and hotel rooms and it's just not a normal life.
Right. We're jumping ahead of ourselves. Let's get back to when you went out on your own. So you went out on your own around 92, you think?
92. I guess it was, October 92, because I have, that's when I bought this house.
Okay. And how did it go from there? Did you already have a string of clients, or did you have one main client?
Bobby kind of really didn't want to do it at that point. He grew his hair long. And he wasn't encouraging too many people that were still here. So there wasn't a heck of a lot left. Like, I think I had like 4 clients, so it was an intimidating time for me, but, we got through it.
Well, you and I have joked about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before. So
absolutely. Like a lot of chicken and peanut butter, but every second of it was great. I remember one time when I first got the place, I went to Cape Cod Dog Show, and I was living here on my own, like 1992, I think it was December of 92 or something. And I came home and I had the flu and my lymph glands were swollen and everything. I get out of bed and go take care of like the 6 dogs that were in the kennel and lay my head on the grooming table and stuff. And I kept thinking to myself, man, I could die here. And it would be weeks before someone came and found me.
Oh my God, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? It's true, though.
Yeah.
So when did you break out then? What was your breakout dog? Do you remember which dog that was? I remember you showing a lot of young dogs. I'm such
a fortunate guy. I guess my breakout dog was, I had a great client, and you know him well too, Stan Wojciechowski.
Yeah, Stan.
And Stan was raised by Ted Eldridge in dogs. So Stan is actually a mentor of mine in many ways because I got to learn from him what he learned from Ted about breeding dogs. You know, so that was great. But Stan was a dean at Harvard. At Yale, which is only about an hour and a half from here. And he bought this dog from a guy named Ray Ruiz. And his call name was Connor, Rough and Ready's recruit. And I won a couple nationals on Connor and breeds at the Garden. But this guy named Harry O'Donoghue from Ireland put me best in show at Montgomery County.
This guy named Harry O'Donoghue.
You know, it was pretty cool. You know, I got the picture standing right here, standing next to Harry.
Yeah.
Doc Dubler and Walter Goodman in the photo. You know, I mean, that was rich in terrier
oh my God,
experience. You know, and time in. You know, that's the thing I talk about, like with dogs too, is you know, between clients and people like ourselves and stuff, you know, just time in and money spent and hours and everything. And dogs, it doesn't really exist anymore. Me, I call myself, I'm a lifer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So I do remember that you showed, there was a little Canadian connection back then. You showed a wire bitch named Wendy. Or no, a Welsh bitch named Wendy.
A Welsh bitch. Yeah. So she was actually a Welsh terrier, right?
Yeah.
So Wendy was great. You know, actually, Wendy came before Connor.
Oh, did
right?
you?
So it's pretty amazing.
I think you went Group 4 at Montgomery with her. I remember that.
Group 4 under Louis Auslander. Yeah. But more importantly, Mrs. Clark gave me the national specialty at Montgomery County. You know, and I'm telling you, for a kid, that was my first year on my own, my first Montgomery County on my own. And to win the national specialty under Mrs. Clark was just amazing.
I
stood out there at the very end with Gabe, and he was showing Nathan at the time, which was another great Welsh terrier that Kathy Regis owned, and he went opposite, and I went best. I went best of breed. It's a funny story with Mrs. Clark. You know, I was a really nervous kid showing the dog. I might have told you this before, but Mrs. Clark always did the dogs backwards, right? So if she picked you first, you weren't winning. But if you were picked last, you were winning. And she always did it at a national specialty. So if you were picked last in a national specialty, you were going best of breed. And when it was just Gabe and I in the center of the ring, I was mumbling to myself, and because I was so nervous, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And the next thing I know is I had Mrs. Clark next to me, and she asks me, she says, "Son, what did you just say?" And I thought, oh, crap. Like, I can't believe I said it. And I looked up at her, and I was like, I had to tell her the truth. And I was like, I said, "Don't pick me." You know, and she looked at me again, and she said, "That's very smart of you." "That's very smart of you, young man." And I thought, oh, my God.
I know. I remember her doing that. She did that at the Beagle National too, and I think it was '94. We flew out to Colorado, and my clients came with me, and they were older at that point, and we ended up right in the center. Like, you know, she always had her best of breed dog was at the end of the dogs, and her best off sex was at the end of the best of breed dog. So it was right in the center of the whole pack. And I can still hear my client in the background. "We flew all the way out here, and we're going 17th.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up, we're winning.
So yeah, but it was fine. I knew at that point what she was doing, so I wasn't too concerned.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people weren't clever enough to be able to follow her, but it's pretty easy if you knew it.
Yeah, exactly. So you went from Wendy. Well, how far? Wendy was your first prominent dog then, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, I wish I was able to show her longer. But the Frasers from Canada, Tom and June, the deal that I had with them, that was we were going to show her all year, show her through Montgomery County, and then Richard Paquette was going to get her right after Montgomery County. So it was really a shame for me, because just as Mrs. Clark gave her a win and Louis Auslander put her fourth in the group at Montgomery County, she left and went to Canada.
Right. Yeah.
So it was
helped her
that
up
was
here, but
disappointing.
it could have been the start of her career actually for you. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what did all of us ever want was to get a win under Mrs. Clark, right?
Oh, exactly. The recognition, So after Wendy, is that when Connor came along then, or was that?
Gosh, that's a long time ago.
That's why I'm here, man, bringing it up.
So yeah, I guess that was like 92, 93 for Wendy. So Connor must have come right along 93. It was great. I met this man at the dog show, and it was Stan, and he came to the show and talked to me about Irish Terriers a bit, and he set forward trying to find one. And Ray Ruiz didn't breed a whole lot, but he bred a few really good ones. And they were all derived from the Tralee kennels. Mary Roberts, which in my mind, if it weren't for Mary Roberts, none of these great dogs would have existed in my future. Mm-hmm. Everything went back to Amber Afterglow, which was Rowdy Red's mother.
Wow. So you had Connor, and he did fabulous. He ended up winning Montgomery. Where did it go from there? First of all, tell me how it felt to win Montgomery at such a young age. So, because you were young.
It was pretty surreal, and back in those days, there were so many people, and it was pretty amazing to stand there. I tell you one thing too, like I went and the dog could have been a little racier. So I'd feed him up during the week, and I wouldn't feed him as much during the weekend. So he was a little sucked up.
Right.
And so he was hungry at Montgomery County Sunday evening when I showed him. And I went down and back, and the dog would never stop right for me. And I came back and I baited him to Harry, and he just jumped forward at the piece of bait, and his front was like perfect when he nailed it. And he bit like the tip of my thumb off. And just a little tip of skin, nothing like serious. But it like hurt like hell. But I didn't stop him from doing it because his front was perfect. And I thought if I pulled it away, then it was all going to be screwed up, So it was pretty amazing. And Harry did this funny thing. Danny Sackos had a ceiling. So he placed all the dogs backwards. And I think he had like 6 dogs cut. And so he had fourth, third, second. He's going back and forth between the Sealyham and the Irish Terrier. And so one wins and one gets nothing, So anyway, pointed at the Irish Terrier, obviously, which, I don't think Danny felt so well about that. But it was great, and it was a humbling experience. And gratifying. But again, there were so many people there. Like what I really remember is standing there with my dog and having so many people congratulate me that at one point there were so many people in the ring. I knew my dog was at the end of the leash, but I couldn't see him. I was actually kind of like afraid. There were so many people.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't see my dog. It was crazy.
That's amazing. That was almost 30 years ago, right?
Thanks, Will.
I know, but almost 3 years ago. And you remember all these details. What'd you have for lunch yesterday?
Yeah, no idea. but you know what they say, right? So when you have emotion, that creates the memory for you, right? So obviously it was pretty strong emotion.
Oh, it's amazing. Like those little details of him grabbing your thumb, and those are great. You'll never forget those those things, right?
But when you grow up as a kid and in terriers and and Bobby Fischer and Wood Warnell and Rick Shashutian and Peter Green, all these guys are your heroes, right? You go and you watch them show dogs and you watch them in groups and win best in shows. And then one day you're standing in that freaking group ring and the guy points at you and you win, it's just amazing. But honestly, I'll tell you what the best part of it was to go back the next year, open up the book, and see my name and my dog's name printed in there.
In
part
the
of history
catalog.
forever. Just amazing. You know, and part of the history that's so important to me.
No, that is an amazing feeling. I know how that feels. It's fun. So after Connor, you're on top of the world. What did you do?
I don't know. We showed Connor for a little while, you know, and I was such a young kid that, you know, it didn't really do for me what it would like today, right? Because there were so many people that didn't know me, and I had a lot of success that followed from it. But, you know, I used to go to shows, man, and Peter would just clean my clock still. You know? And that's the way it went for a long time. You know, but it was great. You know, I tell people all the time, I paid my mortgage for 15 years showing Airedales. I used to go to the dog show 5 Airedales every dog show. You know?
Oh, my God. That's work, man.
I don't think I could do 5 Airedales anymore.
That's work.
Yeah.
So what was the next big dog after Connor then? What came along?
After Connor, gosh, I don't know. I showed some wires for Jim Coots. About the same time, I had a dog, you know, that same year I went to Montgomery County, Michael Collins gave me a dog that we ended up selling to Jim Coots. And it was a Warrenley dog bred in Belfast. And I forget what his name was. He was a beautiful, beautiful dog, great type dog. Like back then, like 20 people bred to him, you know, which is amazing. And I won a few groups on him. I don't think I ever won a best on him. But, you know, so Michael Collins is such a great friend of mine. And I lived in Wales with Michael for a period of time as a kid. And Michael, like, he set me up when I went out on my own. He gave me Wendy, that Welsh Terrier we spoke of. He gave me this Wire Fox Terrier dog. So just the first Montgomery weekend I went to as a professional, from Michael Collins, I had a champion bitch, Purston Takeoff. Then I had her brother, which was Purston Take That. Then we had another bitch and another dog, Welsh Terriers. Then that Wire Fox Terrier dog. So it was just amazing because I went winner's dog with a dog 2 days. I won the breed at Montgomery County. Gosh, at Montgomery County, under Mrs. Clark, I won the breed, went reserve winner's dog and winner's bitch with dogs that Michael Collins gave me. You know, I mean, and his interest, I think Michael's interest in dogs always was breeding and finding a young dog. So the next dog, and then loves young people. He loves finding young people and helping them out, giving them a better dog because, like, as you know, it's so hard. You might have the talent, but you don't get the dogs when you're a kid.
Right.
You know, so it's really difficult. Michael believed in me enough that he gave me the dogs. So it was pretty great.
Explain to me, some viewers don't know who Michael is. Explain Michael, sir.
Oh, gosh. Michael Collins is one of my most dear friends in the world. And so again, like just before I went out on my own, there's a man named Don Brulette. And Don Brulette used to import Wire Fox Terriers. And actually, Don imported probably the best Wire Fox Terrier I've ever seen years ago. She went best in show at National Terrier, shown by Ernie Sharp. And then Bobby got her. And her name was, I forget her kennel name. It was Crimson Velvet. And man, I think she finished with 3 best in shows. And Ed Jenner was supposed to own her. But at the same time, Patty came out. And Ruthie got on Patty. And then, you know, they weren't going to show dogs against each other. And Don Brulette didn't have the money to continue. So he just took her home. And so nobody really knows who the heck she is. Bill McFadden, I think she's one of Bill's favorite wires also. She was great. Just
that's amazing that we just missed out on that dog, basically. So
yeah. You know, it's unfortunate, but you know, money's important when you want to show dogs.
Oh, for sure. So you went from the wire dog that Michael sent you, and then what was that?
So I'll finish about Michael. So Michael is actually, he sent those wires over to Don Burlett. He sent the bitch Sapphire Star Silverbush over to Don Burlett as well, and that's the bitch that Bobby Fischer won the Group of the Garden with.
Okay, I remember that.
Under Doc Dubler. Also, Michael had the wire dog that Dorley Wilson went best in show at Montgomery County with.
Oh, I remember that dog. What was that dog's name?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Something of Purston.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, something of Purston.
I remember the dog, though. I can see him. So.
Yeah, beautiful silhouette and very sound dog. And so there's a group at the Garden and a best in show at Montgomery. Then I know that he went, I think it was reserve best in show with Frank Kellett with a Welsh Terrier at Crufts. I believe one of his Welsh went best in show at Crufts. George showed his Westies, right? So Simon, what was he? Pin Money Peddler of Purston or something. That might have been Dorley's dog. I'm not very good with Westies. But anyway, Simon, that Barbara Keenan owned, went best in show at the Garden. Dorley Wilson's dog won the group at the Garden. I mean, I think he's the most uncelebrated breeder in the world.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. And he's a great guy. Taught me how to evaluate pups, pick pups, and how to breed dogs. So gosh, I'm so fortunate. I mean, between the time I spent with Stan, kind of getting the information that he got from Ted Eldridge, and then the time I spent with Michael Collings, it was really fortunate for me, because I think most handlers they spend time with other handlers. They never get that kind of information from the breeders, because it's two completely separate things.
That's an education, dude. So you've shown the wire dog that Michael sent over. Who was next? I remember there's still a bunch more dogs. I remember you killing it with Carl. I remember all kinds of dogs.
So there was a period of Irish Terriers. I had an Irish bitch that was quite beautiful from Don Brulette. She was, I can't remember her name. Bonnie was her name. And she was bred by a lady in Massachusetts that never really bred anything before or after. But she was beautiful. And then after her was Breezy. Right. So
Breezy was my favorite. I think you know that.
Yeah. That's and probably my favorite Irish Terrier, and one of the best dogs I've ever been around. But truly, like, such a humbling experience for me, because Bob Clyde had her. So I was like this snot-nosed kid, showing Irish Terriers against Bob for like 10 years. And then he's retiring. And when he's retiring, he has the best Irish Terrier that he ever bred. And, I don't know how long he bred them, like 45 years or something. And he let me have her. I mean, we had lots of arguments, showing Irish Terriers. It wasn't the easiest of time.
Yeah.
Back then people were different when we showed dogs. If you loved your dog, you supported your dog. And all those old guys, man, they told you, like, if you didn't support your dog and argue for it, you didn't care. That was like the culture of things back then. Certainly not anymore. We can't act that way anymore. No way. But it was really a humbling experience to have Bob give her to me. And then I was wondering how the experience would go. If he would be telling me how to trim her and how to show her and how to do this. And man, it was just amazing, because he would come at the shows every once in a while, and he would just be encouraging. He'd tell me she'd look beautiful, tell me I was doing a beautiful job. I remember, I'm dating myself, but like, I didn't have a cell phone, so I went best in show with Breezy, and I stopped at the rest area on 90. I think you were there at that show in Syracuse, when Syracuse used to be all those big shows.
Yeah.
I won her first best in show, stopped at the rest area to call Bob. he was just elated and just was like, you're doing such a great job, kid. And it meant the world to me.
Oh, that would. And that actually just gave me a bit of goosebumps. But I remember Breezy. I love, she was probably my favorite dog that you showed. So, oh, someone's walking into the camera.
Oh, that's my pet Usher.
So
I still have a Wheaton as a pet. They're nice pets.
Yeah. So I want to know more about Breezy. Tell me more. Like you told me how you got her from Bob, but she had a great career. So let's go on with Breezy for some more.
She had a great career. I think I won the breed 3 years in a row at the Garden with her. The first breed I won was under Dr. John at the Garden.
I remember that. I was ringside for that one.
It was, still to this day, like one of the most brilliant moments I've ever had with the dog. Like Doug Carlson had a beautiful Irish Terrier, John Childers, at the time. And we were both trying to get our bitches started. And I think that was the day I broke their back. And Dr. John, at the very end, he was making the breed between the bitches. He called the two of them out to spar. And he's just standing back for what seemed an eternity. And gosh, they were like nose to nose like this. And I don't know, like I talked to Gay Glassbrook about it. She took pictures of it. And for some reason, I knew I could just kind of, I put slack in the leash. Like I just kind of dropped my hand down. And there was Breezy. I had a hold of the leash, but she was standing on her own. And it's because always the difficult part about a spar is getting them out of the spar. Once they're sparred, they don't usually go in any further. But when you go to pull them out, then they go to bite the other dog.
Right.
So anyway, it was a moment that I've never really experienced before showing a dog, or after. I think we all have a couple of those.
Gay got a picture of that moment?
Gay did, yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah. I better see it. So how did she do at Montgomery? I can't remember. Did she?
How did she do at Montgomery? I don't remember. I
remember all the Garden wins. I think I was at ringside for most of the Garden wins. I always came to watch her.
I had a couple hard times at Montgomery with her. Like, I think I had a good judge one year, and Rick was doing the breed, and he put Mary Beecher up with a dog. I never thought much of the dog. I think he was actually by Connor, but I never really thought much of the dog. But there was no beating Mary under Ricky that day. And I was so mad at him. In fact, I went best of winners with this bitch at John Childers, and he came over later in the day, and he asked me if I'll get a picture with her under Ricky. And I looked at him, a bunch of expletives, and I'm not getting any picture, John. And John's just got his hands up in the air. I understand. He's got from Texas. And he went and got a picture of himself with it.
We've all been there, man.
Yeah.
If I can get a best off the sex picture. I don't think so.
No, exactly. Which is kind of stupid, really, but, it's
I know.
the way our heart is.
Felt right at the time, though.
Exactly. Exactly.
So who was next? Was Carl after Breezy? Was Carl the next big one?
Carl, no. We can't forget Harley.
Oh, geez, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so
Harley's great.
Harley was amazing, right? So Forbes Gordon was a really cool guy. I got along well with him. Like, I think I'm one of the few people that never had an argument with Forbes, but I was brutally honest with Forbes because I noticed one time that if you ever fibbed to him or kind of shaded truths, he would be very upset. So I was always brutally honest with Forbes, and it was a good path that I followed because he never.
That's the best way to be anyway. It really is. You get yourself in less trouble.
Exactly, right? Exactly. But so we're out at Gray's Lake one time, we always just say, right, it was Montgomery County. It was Great Western and Gray's Lake. And back when, Anne, what the heck was her name? Anne Marie, the German lady that ran those shows out in Chicago. Great Airedale woman. She moved down to Texas. Gosh, I can't remember her name, but she was great. Anyway, there were huge dog shows out in Chicago at the time. And I remember seeing Forbes out at the Airedale show and the specialties. And he was, I think Mike had just quit showing or something, and he was in between a bunch of people. Scott didn't really want to show the dogs, and
Airedales are a lot of work.
Airedales are a lot of work, and I told Forbes that he should hire me, and that after a couple of years, me showing his dog, we could go to every single major event. We wouldn't even have to advertise because everybody would know when we arrived at a major event that they were his dogs. And I got a phone call from him when we went home, and he called me up and flew me down to Katy, Texas. And he had, gosh, back in the day, him and Carol. So it was Tartan Scott Shire at that point in time when they were in Texas. And I bet they had 40 Airedales. So we went through the whole place. And they had some really good dogs at the time. And Forbes was kind of leaning toward a couple others. But he wanted me to choose. I mean, he was a smart man because he wanted me to have some skin in the game. So he made me choose. And I choose a 7-month-old puppy. And they sent him home with me. A 7-month-old puppy was Harley.
Well, you chose correct. Yeah. You chose wisely, right?
So I guess we grew up Harley for, I don't know, till he was over a year. And then I showed him the first week in Syracuse. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And showed him the first week in Syracuse. And then we went out to the National in California. And he went best of winners every day and was finished like that. So it was pretty cool. I think I showed him 2 days in Syracuse, and he won. That was back in the heyday of dogs, right? There were 5-point majors in the Airedales each day. And he won the breed. So he was getting these 5-point majors, and I had to go out to the National. And so I only showed him 2 days before we went out there. I was like, I can't show him anymore. The dog's going to finish before we get there. And I think he was 16 months old or something like that. So I couldn't finish him because he couldn't. There's no way he could win the breed because he was too young of a dog. And anyway, I went best of winners under Ed Biven there, which was pretty cool. And then his last show, Ed Biven gave him the breed at the Garden. I think we won 5 breeds in a row or something at the Garden, 4 or 5 breeds. It was amazing. It was really only like a 3.5-year career or something, but we started him late in his first year, and then we ended him at the Garden, right? So there were 3 full years in the middle. It was about 3.5 years. It was pretty cool.
And he had some other major wins too, like
Best in Show at Montgomery County
exactly.
under Ann won the breed.
Don't
under
forget
Charlie.
that one.
yeah, I can't forget that one. Won the breed under Charlie Foley there that year, which was really cool. And we went Best in Show under John Cole and Peggy Beisel at Great Western. And man, that was back in the day. There were like 1,200 terriers at Great Western. And he won all the major terrier shows that year. He went Best in Show. We didn't have as many terrier shows. We had Columbia Terrier at the time. 600 terriers at Columbia Terrier in Baltimore. And so, I mean, Montgomery County, Baltimore County, Great Western, and Great Western back to back, all in the same year. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was an unfortunate time for the dog. Talk about like everything is timing, and as great as that dog's career was, there was this Kerry Blue Terrier named Mick, that we had to show against at all the major shows. And Harley went second to him twice in the groups at the Garden. So it would have been a different career for the dog. I think that, it's like everything in life is timing, right?
Oh, there's no
if there wasn't Mick and that dog had won a couple of groups at the Garden, I think that it'd be pretty hard for any Airedale to come close to his record today. But such is life, and it's going to be impossible for anybody to come close to Mick's record.
That's right. But it's great that those 2 great dogs were out the same year, and it's good for the fancy to see.
It is. Gosh, went second to him at Bucks County and Trenton, and so like really every major dog show. Oh gosh, I don't know how I forgot this. So probably one of the coolest thing is that Harley won the group at the AKC Dog Show. It was the first one that they held. So he won the first terrier group there, and he won that under Ed Biven, which was pretty amazing. So for Ed to put him best of winners, give him the group in Orlando at the AKC show, and then finish his career with the breed at Westminster. it was pretty cool. Came full circle.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's amazing. Well, we got too many though. Now on to Carl. You did great with Carl.
Yeah, so Carl was great, and again, talk about like dogs in difficult times. Carl came along, and Peter had a really beautiful bitch. It was the last one that he showed, the last wire he showed, and when he was retiring, and it was before that Airedale bitch that he retired with, and it was difficult, man, because it was difficult for both of us. It was difficult for both of us because here I was, like, I don't know how old I was, maybe 35 or something like that. And I just got Norman Kenny as my client. And so here's a guy with a couple of bucks to show a dog and involved in different dog clubs and judging and everything. So it was the first time that I really had a dog to show for a dog person. And not only was it Norman Kenny, but then I had Rick and Kathy that owned the dog as well. So the dog was owned really well. And so Peter had this bitch. And, it was a difficult time because I was this young kid, talented, trying as hard as he could. And I had a show against the great Peter Green almost all the time. We live in Pennsylvania. I live in Massachusetts. And, Peter's knees weren't what they were. And he was near the end of his career, right? So it was really a difficult time for us. But I owe Peter so much for that year. I learned more in that year showing dogs against Peter than I learned in all those years working for people.
Wow.
As far as showing dogs, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, God, if you have to compete against Peter Green, and like I know Norman pretty well, if I didn't produce showing Carl, Norman and Carl were going to go away. And I ended up showing dogs for Norman for about 10 years, a bunch of wires. And I think every wire that we ever found won at least a couple best in shows. And, so it was it was really a great time looking back on it. But, Peter taught me how to be a competitor, because there is no greater competitor than Peter.
Yeah, that's for sure. But you still, even though you had Pete to compete against, Carl still made a name for himself. He still won a bunch.
He did. We used to joke like for some reason he went best in show like every Sunday. It was silly. Like I think like 15 Sundays or something. And we didn't go to dog shows then like we do now. But like 15 Sundays or something, he'd go best in show. And Norman lived in Maui in the wintertime, and I just call him. Sometimes I'd leave a message, just another Sunday at the dog show, Norm, talk to you later. It was pretty cool. Yeah. We didn't show Carl that long. I think we showed him like a year or maybe.
Yeah. No, I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. I said we didn't show Carl that long. We showed him for about a year, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
Then we moved on to another dog called Leo, and Leo did pretty well. Leo was a dog that Hiroshi had from.
Okay, I remember the dog. Yeah.
And again, so it was with Rick and Kathy, and actually Leo goes back to right. So the dog I'm showing right now, Vinny, I think Leo is the sire of Hiroshi's dog, Taro. That's the sire of Vinny.
Okay.
So it's cool. So it's all kind of connected through the years. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
You've had a pretty impressive career there, Mr. Ars.
Oh.
So
I like it,
Yeah, no, I've been along. We've been friends for quite a while, so I got to see a lot of it happen. So it was fun.
I mean, gosh, we forgot about Connor too, right? I guess Connor came along after Harley. So Connor was a dog. Connor went best in show at Devon and Hatboro. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I've never had a top terrier. I've been second. Usually have a dog in the top 10. Where I live, there's not enough points in terrier groups. And unless you're going best in show all the time, you really need to kind of travel. And,
yeah, it's hard.
I like to get home on Sunday nights.
Oh, I get it. Me too. I always loved getting home. I still like getting home.
And actually, last year before the pandemic hit was the first time I was going to make a commitment to really traveling. And we went to the garden, we went to a group at the garden, and then the pandemic hit like a month later or something like that. So that was that. And pretty much all the enthusiasm went away. I mean, I can't say completely because I have another a dog. I was supposed to show this year the dog that Haley has in Canada right now.
Yeah, and
he's
cleaning
it up.
Yeah,
that's so humbling. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's so wonderful that so many people appreciate the dog, and Haley's doing an amazing job with him.
He's a beauty. I remember you showing to me as a puppy, and he's a beautiful dog.
Yeah, I mean, since he was like 4 months old, I was like, I think this dog is special. And there's a bitch. I let Judy Hallback. It's funny. Judy Hallback was driving me crazy for a bitch. And I had a dog and a bitch, and the bitch is beautiful. Like Todd Clyde gave her the breed from 6 to 9 puppy class, and Dare put her best of winners at the Chicago specialty, and the co-owner now has put a best in show on her and stuff. And I probably shouldn't have let it go. But Judy was sick and she had cancer, and we've lost Judy since, and she was just driving me crazy. So I was really nervous. The bitch was like 6 or 7 months old, I think. And she was so good, I was afraid that I was getting rid of the wrong one, but apparently I kept the right one. Yeah.
So what advice would you give a young handler that wanted to get involved in the sport, like the way we have been, like on this level? They want to be a handler.
Yeah. So the advice I would give them is guys like myself, I don't think can make a living in dogs anymore, right? I don't think there's many people. There's a lot of terrier people, but Gabe and I are pretty much the only guys that basically just show terriers anymore. Like Ernesto, Leonardo, great terrier guys. They show a lot of other breeds. So I don't show many breeds. So I think it's very important. And I say this about like people don't watch the history of dog shows. And I think you and I have had this conversation. But this back-to-back thing at dog shows, I don't think is the best thing that's happened to dogs. It makes life easier. It makes handlers able to make money. But I think it dilutes our sport.
Well, there's no question.
Right. So my advice to these guys is you need to work for someone that gives you a broad knowledge in dogs, not just one group. Like you need to become an all-around handler. Because that's the way you're going to make a living. You're going to give yourself so many more opportunities to have success than to be kind of stuck in one group. But when I first started doing this, everybody had a group, and there were all breed handlers, but the terrier guys were just terrier guys. And
yep.
So I'm a dinosaur. So my advice is find someone to work for. It's not so important to win right away. It's the most important thing is to build a great foundation, right? So, again, it goes back to animal husbandry, right? If you can't take care of your dogs, you can't win anything. Because if you don't have healthy dogs, you never have any success.
It's true.
And that's how basic it is for me. And it's interesting, like through the pandemic, I used to have a lot more people that worked here. I do things a little smaller than I used to. So I have Catherine and Emily. They help during the week. We keep not too many dogs, but we keep 25 dogs here. I'm not a boarding kennel or anything. We do some pet grooming of dogs that we used to show for people. But so it's Catherine and I or Catherine and Emily that take care of the dogs every morning. And before the pandemic, we were so busy going to shows and we had more dogs. And I can't say that I was in the kennel all the time. But this is back to my roots again. And it's what I liked. It's why I became a dog handler, like taking care of the dogs, and I'm back feeding the dogs every day and putting them out in the morning. And I can't express how important that is, right? just to see the stools that are in the runs with the dogs, right? To see which dogs have food left over in their crates when they wake up in the morning. And just to see how they're all acting and to have a better understanding of each animal. So that's what I would tell them.
That's good advice. I agree it wholeheartedly. And like when I go back and showing dogs, people think, oh, it's silly. You're there cleaning on the crate. I kind of enjoyed it, like going there and just back to basics and doing what.
It's a funny thing, right? It's a funny thing, but if you take a moment and you think about it, that's what got us interested in this.
Yeah, for sure. So what's next for ours? I know you're still showing dogs. Obviously, a few dogs that you want to show, but are you going to end up judging?
I don't know.
I know you've judged over the world a few times. You've done some shows in England and whatnot.
Yeah, I've been fortunate, right? So they gave me special consideration and let me do 5 breeds at Bath Championship Dog Show, and that was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it. I just don't know. I don't know if I would enjoy. So if you want to judge dogs, yeah, of course, I want to judge Airedales, Wire Fox Terriers, Irish Terriers at Montgomery County. But if I don't do all the little dog shows around the country, I'm never going to get those jobs. Gosh, it would be painful to go and hand out ribbons all day. I say that to a lot of judges all the time. You get there and there's not a lot of judging when you get to smaller dog shows in the mornings, right? There's one. It's like you're handing out ribbons. You get to the group, right? So we're competing for the group and not really for the breed all the time. So there's some evaluation in the group and in best in show. You get the best in show, and even if it's kind of like a pet parade all day long, there's usually 6 great dogs in best in show. Probably the 6 best ones that are at the dog show. So I just don't know. I don't know, I just don't know.
Well, I hope you do. I hope you decide to do it, because I think it's like a full circle, and we devote our lives to showing dogs and doing the best we can. I think it's our turn to we don't hear complaints, but there are complaints about or talk about we don't have those judges anymore that the Mrs. Clarks. Well, that's because they were all ex-handlers, and it's actually it's time to step up and take over the role.
Like the problem with me is I don't mind being home. And I'm always jealous like Gabe. Like Gabe's one of my best friends. I love Gabe. Gabe has this like focused interest on dogs like Rick did. And that's what he wants to do. That's his interest. He loves like every second of it. My mind wanders, right? I want to do some fine woodworking. I like to do gardening and like grow some vegetables and stuff like that. So my mind wanders away from it all, and I'm happy being busy at home.
Yeah.
Now, I've never really liked flying with dogs, so spending a lot of time at airports and days traveling home, losing days, at the front and at the end of a dog show weekend. I don't know about that.
I know, but you have so much to offer us all. So I think it'd be important.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, man, I'll give you one last question. If you were to meet, let's go right back to the 15-year-old RC Carusi, Robert Carusi. Is there any advice you'd give him now?
Gosh, 15-year-old RC Carusi. First of all, I'd say don't try so hard. If I've been guilty of something, it's been like I just wanted success and wanted to make Bobby so proud and everything. Through the years, when I was younger, I tried too hard. But I'm divorced about 6 years now, and I met this lady that lives in Canada, Haley. She's been the greatest influence in my life. She's such a calming, she's so calming to me, and so talented. And she's helped me find an an easier, kinder path. You know, she's brilliant. I can't say enough about her. Not only is she probably the kindest person I ever met, and I think most people would agree, but she's so super talented. You know, like, I guess it's been 6 or 7 years ago when we first got together, but we share the same passion in dogs, and she's so super talented. And again, like, you know, I get a little excited sometimes. I was yelling at Clay one day, and she put her arm on my hand, she put her hand on my arm. She just said to me, as soon as she put her hand on my arm, like, I calmed down. You know, and again, it's that thing, like, you know, the guys that were my heroes, like Peter and Bobby and Rick, and, you know, they taught you, right? This was the culture. You have to fight for your dog. That's what these guys said. And here's a little more advice for everybody. You don't have to fight for your dog. You can support your dog, love your dog, right? Be polite to everybody. You know, be kind. It'll get you a lot further in dogs. You know, apologize to people if you do something wrong. You know, be kind. You don't even have to mean it when you apologize. Just apologize. Make your life easier.
Yeah.
You know, I think I made my life a lot more difficult than I needed to. You know, so
well, also that fire is what kept you going too, though. It made you try harder.
It is. You know, I mean, I still have it, but, like, you know, I don't react like that, and there's no place in that for. There's no place in it for dogs any longer. Right? It's just it's a different game, and there's just no place for acting out and disgruntled any longer. You know, just, you don't have to agree. You don't have to say anything about it.
And you can be disappointed. It's just, you know.
Absolutely. But, you know, like, all the antics, you know, and the body language and everything, like, just walk over to the side and be polite.
Right. It's hard.
It makes life easier for everybody.
It's difficult sometimes, but, you know, we have to try and move on. And I always thought if I didn't succeed in that class, how many more times I was going to show to that judge, I'd better watch my P's and Q's.
But it's hard, you know. It's so different now. It's like, I don't get excited almost ever, like, when I show the dogs excited or angry any longer, because it's almost impossible. Like, I can't tell you, in the last couple of years, I mean, I've shown terriers to people I've never seen them before in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's because it's our turn, ours.
I guess, but it's just such a different thing. And again, it's like you said, there's, you know, when Janie passed away, I remember having this thought that there's less dog people than dogs every day. And I don't mean to sound like a jerk when I say that, but, you know, like, here I am. I'm a guy who had an apprenticeship for 11 or 12 years. Right? You know, I surround myself. All my friends are people in dogs. You know, because of my lifestyle, I don't have many friends in my community. My community is a dog show community. You know, so I don't know how to explain it or exactly where I'm going with it. But as I said before, I don't think there's as many lifers as there once was. And there's so many less people that are breeding dogs. And right, like nowadays in terriers, I get judges all the time. You know, they ask me, why is it that all the handlers breed wire fox terriers? I said, because, you know, and it's not just wires, it's dogs and terriers in general, and probably the other breeds. But when I was a kid, I used to have great breeders come down my driveway, pull up in the car, come take a dog out of the car. It was a dog you could win with. That doesn't happen anymore. So if I want dogs that I can have great success with, I have to make them myself, because there's not as many people involved in the sport. And if you wait for someone to show up in your driveway with a dog, It's not going to happen. I will tell you this last thing. Michael Collins always impressed this on me. But to me, and I think it's been the reason I've had continuous success. The most fun part about this, the most exciting part for me, is the next dog. So even when I'm in the middle of a great career with a dog, I'm searching the world for dogs. I'm breeding dogs. I'm finding the dog that comes after that one. And that's what motivates me in dogs.
That's very true, Horace. I agree with you. This is great, buddy. It's good to do this.
Cool.
Yeah. So where are you off to this weekend?
I'm fortunate. I got a couple local shows in Boxborough, Massachusetts.
Oh, good.
So I get to stay at home for 2 days, and I'm a lucky guy, because I live 45 miles from Springfield, Massachusetts, and we do like 70 shows a year there.
Exactly.
And I don't think I miss one.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. I'm glad we do this because I loved it. It was a great interview. So
yeah, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
Best of luck. Thanks, Ars. Appreciate your time. It was a great interview. If you need to get a hold of me at dogshowtips@gmail.com. If you want to find out what's happening in Will's world, go to willalexander.net. And don't forget, if you like what we're doing here, press the like, share, and subscribe button. And also, you can catch our podcast, Wayne Kavanaugh and myself, The Dog Show Drive, every Thursday on your favorite podcast provider. Until next week.